Imagine a battlefield where a weapon costing just $30,000 can force a superpower to fire missiles worth millions of dollars. It sounds unbelievable, but this is exactly the dilemma the United States and its allies are now facing. Across the Middle East and other conflict zones, small Iranian-made drones are appearing in the skies. Slow, buzzing machines carrying explosive payloads. They are not stealth fighters. They are not advanced bombers. In fact, many of them are built using relatively simple technology. Yet these cheap drones are triggering one of the most expensive military responses in modern history. Because to stop them, the United States often relies on advanced air defense systems such as Patriot or SM-series interceptor missiles, each costing between $2 million and $5 million per launch. And the drones they are destroying, many cost only $20,000 to $50,000 to produce. This huge difference in cost has created what military analysts call a cost exchange imbalance. In simple terms, Iran can launch hundreds of relatively cheap drones, while the defenders must spend far more money trying to shoot them down. Even if most of the drones are intercepted, the economic damage is already done, because every interception means another multi-million-dollar missile leaving the launch tube. This strategy is not accidental. Over the past decade, Iran has invested heavily in drone warfare, developing large numbers of loitering munitions such as the Shahed 136, a delta-wing drone designed to fly long distances before crashing into its target. These drones are slow compared to fighter jets, but they have one critical advantage. They are cheap. And when launched in large swarms, they can overwhelm even the most advanced air defense networks. This is why military experts increasingly believe that drone warfare is reshaping the economics of modern conflict. Instead of competing with the United States in building expensive fighter jets or aircraft carriers, Iran is using a completely different strategy. A strategy based on volume, affordability, and attrition. And as this strategy spreads across battlefields around the world, it raises a serious question. What happens when the most powerful military in the world is forced to defend itself, using weapons that cost hundreds of times more than the threats they are trying to stop? Because if this imbalance continues, the real battlefield may not be the sky. It may be the economics of war itself. To understand why this cost imbalance matters so much, we need to look at how modern air defense systems actually work. For decades, the United States built some of the most advanced missile defense networks in the world. Systems like the Patriot, THAAD, and naval interceptor missiles were designed to stop extremely dangerous threats, ballistic missiles, cruise missiles, and advanced enemy aircraft. These weapons are incredibly sophisticated. They rely on powerful radar systems, satellite tracking, advanced guidance computers, and high-precision intercept technology capable of destroying targets traveling at several times the speed of sound. But that level of technology comes at a price. Each interceptor missile can cost anywhere from $2 million to more than $10 million depending on the system being used. Some of the most advanced interceptors, designed to destroy long-range ballistic missiles, can cost even more. These systems were built with a specific type of threat in mind, high-value targets. For example, if an enemy launches a ballistic missile capable of striking a city, using a multi-million-dollar interceptor makes perfect sense. The cost of stopping the attack is far lower than the damage the missile could cause, but drone warfare changes that equation. Iran's strategy focuses on deploying large numbers of low-cost drones, many of which are designed to be expendable. They are not meant to survive the mission. Their only purpose is to reach the target and detonate. This means they can be produced cheaply and in large quantities. Instead of sending one expensive missile toward a target, Iran can launch dozens of drones at once. When this happens, air defense systems face a difficult problem. Every incoming drone must be tracked and intercepted before it reaches its destination. But if defenders fire a multi-million-dollar missile to destroy a drone worth only tens of thousands of dollars, the economic balance quickly shifts in favor of the attacker. Military planners call this the cost exchange ratio. If a defender spends millions of dollars to stop a cheap drone, the attacker is effectively forcing the defender to burn through resources at a much faster rate. Over time, this creates pressure not just on military forces, but on defense budgets as well. And this is exactly where Iran's strategy becomes particularly dangerous, because the goal is not simply to hit targets. The goal is to force opponents into a situation where defending themselves becomes extraordinarily expensive. The real strength of Iran's drone strategy becomes clearer when we examine how these drones are actually deployed during attacks. Instead of launching a single drone toward a target, Iranian military planners often rely on swarm tactics. A drone swarm is exactly what it sounds like. Dozens, sometimes even hundreds of drones launch toward the same target area at roughly the same time. Each drone may follow a slightly different path, approach from different directions, or fly at different altitudes. For defenders, this creates a complex and chaotic situation. Air defense radars suddenly detect many small objects in the sky at once. Operators must quickly determine which drones pose the greatest threat and which should be intercepted first. But this is where the cost problem becomes even more serious. If one drone approaches a military base, the defender may fire a single interceptor missile. But if 20 or 30 drones appear at once, defenders may need to launch dozens of interceptors to stop them all. That means a drone swarm costing perhaps $1 or $2 million in total could force the defending side to spend tens of millions of dollars in interceptor missiles. And even then, there is no guarantee that every drone will be destroyed. Some may slip through the defenses. Others may damage radar systems or fuel storage areas. Even a small number of successful strikes can create serious disruptions to military operations. This tactic has already appeared in several conflicts across the Middle East, where drones have been used to target oil facilities, military bases, and shipping infrastructure. Each attack demonstrates the same strategic pattern. The attacker spends relatively little. The defender spends much more. Over time, repeated attacks can slowly drain interceptor stockpiles and increase pressure on military logistics, because interceptor missiles are not unlimited. They must be manufactured in specialized factories, transported to military bases, and stored in limited quantities. If large numbers are used in a short period of time, replacing them can take months, and that delay creates another advantage for drone warfare. Because while interceptors are expensive and difficult to produce, drones can often be built much faster and in much larger numbers. This difference in production speed and cost is what makes the strategy so effective. It transforms the battlefield from a purely military contest into something else entirely, a battle of economics. As this cost imbalance becomes more visible, defense analysts and military think tanks have started examining the broader financial impact of drone warfare. In recent operations across the Middle East, the United States and its allies have been forced to launch large numbers of interceptor missiles to defend military bases, naval ships, and critical infrastructure. From a tactical perspective, many of these defenses have been successful. Incoming drones and missiles were detected early and destroyed before reaching their targets. But the financial cost of these defensive actions has been enormous. According to defense reports and military estimates, the United States has already spent billions of dollars responding to drone and missile threats in the region. Naval destroyers equipped with advanced missile systems have fired interceptors from the Red Sea and the Persian Gulf. Patriot air defense batteries stationed at regional bases have launched missiles to intercept incoming threats. Fighter jets have been scrambled to identify and destroy drones before they could approach protected airspace. Every one of these responses carries a price. Interceptor missiles can cost several $million each. Operating advanced radar systems requires large amounts of power and highly trained personnel. Keeping fighter jets on standby means constant maintenance, fuel consumption, and logistical support. When all of these costs are combined, defending against waves of cheap drones becomes extremely expensive. This is why several military research institutions have begun describing this situation as economic attrition. Instead of trying to defeat a stronger opponent through direct military confrontation, the strategy focuses on gradually imposing financial pressure. If the defender must spend billions of dollars over time to stop relatively inexpensive threats, the economic burden of the conflict begins shifting toward the defending side. For Iran, this approach makes strategic sense. The country does not need to match the United States in terms of aircraft carriers, stealth bombers, or advanced fighter jets. Instead, it focuses on technologies that can challenge those advantages in a more indirect way. Cheap drones, long-range missiles, and asymmetric tactics become tools for balancing the military equation. And as drone technology continues to improve, the effectiveness of these tactics may only increase. Which raises a critical question for military planners around the world. How do you defend against weapons that are far cheaper to build than they are to destroy? To fully understand the scale of this problem, it helps to look at the actual numbers behind the weapons involved. One of the most widely discussed Iranian drones is the Shahed 136, a loitering munition designed to travel long distances before crashing into its target. Military analysts estimate that a single Shahed 136 drone costs roughly $20,000 to $50,000 to produce. In contrast, many of the interceptor missiles used to destroy these drones are dramatically more expensive. For example, the Patriot PSC-3 interceptor missile, one of the primary air defense weapons used by the United States and its allies, can cost approximately $3 million to $4 million per missile. Naval interceptors used by U.S. destroyers can also be extremely expensive. Some variants of the SM-3 missile, designed to intercept ballistic threats, can cost $12 million or more per launch. This creates an extraordinary cost imbalance. Imagine a scenario where a swarm of 20 drones is launched toward a military installation. If each drone costs roughly $30,000, the total attacking force might cost about $600,000 to produce. But if defenders use interceptor missiles costing $3 million each to stop those drones, shooting down all 20 could cost $60 million. That means the defender spends 100 times more money than the attacker. And this is not just a theoretical scenario. In recent operations across the Middle East, U.S. naval ships and air defense systems have fired dozens of interceptor missiles to protect shipping routes and military bases from drone and missile attacks. Some estimates suggest that defensive operations against these threats have already cost the United States more than $1 billion in interceptor missiles and military operations. Meanwhile, the drones used in many of these attacks represent only a fraction of that cost. This is why defense experts increasingly refer to drone warfare as a form of asymmetric economic strategy. The attacker does not need to win every engagement. They only need to force the defender into a situation where defending itself becomes progressively more expensive. And if this cost imbalance continues long enough, the financial pressure alone can become a powerful strategic weapon. In the end, the real significance of Iran's drone strategy goes far beyond the battlefield. It highlights a fundamental shift in the economics of modern warfare. For decades, military dominance depended on the ability to build the most advanced weapons: stealth aircraft, aircraft carriers, precision missiles, and complex defense systems. These platforms required massive budgets, sophisticated industries, and years of technological development. The United States built exactly that kind of military power, but drone warfare is beginning to challenge this traditional model. Consider the numbers again. A Shahed 136 drone may cost around $20,000 to $50,000, yet stopping it might require a Patriot interceptor worth $3 million to $4 million. In some cases, naval interceptors like the SM-3 missile can cost roughly $12 million per launch. This means a single successful interception could cost 100 to 400 times more than the drone being destroyed. Now imagine this happening repeatedly. If 100 drones were launched in a coordinated attack, the attacking side might spend roughly $3 million producing them. But if defenders fired interceptor missiles costing an average of $3 million each, the defense could cost $300 million. And that calculation only includes the missiles themselves. It does not include the cost of maintaining radar networks, operating fighter jets, deploying naval ships, or running the command and control systems that coordinate air defense. Over time, those expenses multiply quickly. This is why military analysts increasingly warn that drone warfare could become one of the most disruptive developments in modern conflict. Instead of relying on a few expensive weapons, attackers can deploy large numbers of cheap systems designed to overwhelm defenses. Even if most of those drones are destroyed, the economic damage may already be done, and the trend is only accelerating. Global military reports suggest that the worldwide drone market could reach over $50 billion in the coming decade, as more countries invest in unmanned systems for surveillance and combat. As production increases and technology improves, drones will likely become even cheaper and more capable, which means the central dilemma will remain: how do you defend billion-dollar infrastructure using missiles that cost millions, against drones that cost only a few $1,000s? That question is now driving urgent research into new counter-drone technologies, including laser weapons, electronic warfare systems, and artificial intelligence-driven defense networks. Because in the future of warfare, victory may not always go to the side with the most advanced weapons. Sometimes it will go to the side that can fight the longest and the cheapest.